Start from the beginning, not from Brutal 2022. Let's go back to the when Brutal was a little fella.
So it's funny, you know, I say this all the time, but you know, I grew up in a car family. My mom, my dad, my aunts, uncles, everybody, they were into cars. So I didn't have a choice in the matter of how things started out for me.
Always Mustangs?
Pretty much. We did actually have a couple Chevrolets, believe it or not, yeah.
Had to break down and do it.
Yeah, you know, some of my favorite cars, we had an old El Camino that was really cool, you know, back in the day. But yeah, it was pretty much Mustangs and just cars in general. You know, I grew up, you know, dirt poor. We didn't have a lot, well, not much at all. My dad actually used to have to go out behind the house and kill anything that would move.
We're talking about Southwest Georgia.
Southwest Georgia.
I understand.
In the middle of nowhere, in the woods. He ended up getting on at a local paper mill, and things started to change for us. They got a lot better throughout the years, but it was always cars. You know, even back when we didn't have anything, he managed to find a car too. You know, he'd pull up some old car from somewhere, and that's what he did. Well, obviously, once he got a better job, started making some good money, it was new cars. So on top of the old cars, he never got rid of the old ones. He kept those, but he just always had something new.
Now, was he a little bit like you to where he can fix a little some of everything?
Papa T, as most of you know him as, was somewhat of a jack of all trades. He got that from his dad. So my grandfather, Pop is what we called him, Sherman Hester, lived to be 98 years old, by the way.
98.
Yeah, awesome. He could fix anything.
Okay.
He was a helicopter mechanic. Yeah, he was in the military, just, you know, by the book guy, but could fix anything. Although he wasn't into cars, you have to think, I mean, he was born in 1918, so car, that wasn't an option really, you know. And even as he got older, he never was really into cars, but he could fix anything. He could fix cars. So he allowed my dad to basically live out his passions and his dreams. He didn't, you know, give him crap about it, although he wasn't into it, but he taught him how to work on them.
Okay.
And I think that was a big thing as to how my dad got started.
Okay, and then it just came down to you.
Came down to me.
You know, and that doesn't happen with all families. You know, my daddy was a technical I&C guy, and I got absolutely none of that. So
well,
you had an interest in it, I guess.
I guess it was a little different for me. You know, we've talked about this a lot, and I've mentioned it on the channel a few times, but for me, it was really hard to relate to other kids. When you grow up in a very small town in the middle of nowhere, when your parents do this stuff, all of their friends, your whole family, everybody that came to my house, it was cars. I guess what I'm trying to say is I honestly had no clue that anybody had anything else, any other hobbies going on in life.
You didn't know that there was a rest of the world, another way to live.
I had no clue. I really didn't, because everyone that we hung out with was into this stuff, right? They would come over to the house, you know, they may have a fish fry, they may eat some oysters, you know, they may just hang out around the cars, or, you know, my dad may be painting a car for somebody or building an engine. All of his buddies were into this stuff. Well, if it wasn't that, it was three-wheelers, four-wheelers. Yeah. I remember motorcycles. Yeah, we would drag race three-wheelers at an early age. Actually, my dad put me on one pretty early because I was light. So we'd be out there, modified three-wheelers, you know, Honda 200S's, X's, and all that type stuff. And we would drag race and ride them things everywhere. So, like I said, you know, I go to school and nobody really did it to that level. And I couldn't understand why I couldn't relate to people, I guess.
So you've always then kind of done your own thing.
Always.
An individual.
But yeah, I've always tried to separate myself, even as a young boy, that way. And later on in life, you know, it got into the wild hairdos and the cars.
Yeah, about you being different, you know, when we first met, which was probably 23 years ago maybe, you were probably, what, 20? It was a little learning curve for me to warm up to you. The rest of the group that we worked in, you were out there.
I was somewhat of a rebel, I guess you could say, but that wasn't really the goal of it. I don't know. I was just always different. But when
Yeah, I didn't see it as a rebel thing.
Yeah.
It was just you're just this unique cat that was completely different from the rest of the group.
I remember it took you a while to warm up to me because, I mean, I knew I was different. The clothes I wore, the way I had my hair, I even had a nose ring, you know. At
You
one
did,
point.
you sure did.
So, you know, people were just like, what in the hell? You know, I drove old 65 fastback.
But then you remember when you, either right when you started or right before you started, you had the Chrysler.
The PT Cruiser.
The PT Cruiser.
Yeah.
And it was like the first one in Alabama, or it was one of the first few, certainly in our area.
Yeah, it was.
And it was a good looking little ride. Now, honestly, it was.
It was. People laugh about that all the time, and they're like a PT Cruiser, but
I mean,
it was the first one in Alabama.
And it was hot.
It was,
looked good.
and they actually they kept it for like 5 days on the showroom floor because they didn't have another one. So I finally went and got it, and the day that I got it, I took it straight to the rim shop, got wheels put on it, got it lowered, tinted the windows, and we went straight to the beach for spring break. And that thing got more attention. There was a Viper down there about 6 cars ahead of me in line on the strip. And believe it or not, that little PT Cruiser got more looks. They thought it was something custom built.
Really? Now, like, I'm probably your biggest fan other
Yeah.
than your immediate family. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm like a huge...
You are.
I'm a huge Brutal fan.
You are.
But back then, I wasn't. And
Yeah.
Chad was your best buddy. And Chad told me, he said, Jimmy, he said, man, you got to give Nakia a chance. I said, what do you mean? He said, he's really a great guy. I said, well, I don't know. He's just acts like a kid or something. I don't know what my mindset was.
Yeah.
When I did, man, you're a cool cat. We came in one night on night shift, and you said, hey, listen, look here, look what I'm doing. And you were chrome plating some kit that you had gotten, or you had, I mean, this was really 17, 18 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. Yeah, I had bought a chrome plate kit, and I decided that I was going to do some motorcycle parts.
That's right.
And, you know, at the time, I spent a lot of money on this thing. Like, I think I spent like $4 grand on this kit back then, you know. So I bought this kit and quickly realized that I was a little in over my head. I couldn't calculate surface area like I thought I could, and it was funny because with the chrome plate stuff, it all had to be perfect before you ever chrome plated it. So there wasn't, it's like body work when it comes to painting a car, right? If you leave behind bad body work, it's going to show up in your paint. It's the same thing with the chrome plate, and I didn't realize that. Okay. So I ended up getting in way over my head with it. But we did do some stuff. I actually still have that gold-plated spoon. I eat with it to this day.
No kidding.
Yeah, it's in my work bag. I always just wanted to try new things. That was it, you know, just give it a go. And I gave that everything that I had. It wasn't for me, I guess.
You know something else I remember about that? You told me how much you spent on it. And immediately I'm thinking, how in the hell are you going to recoup that money and make money? I mean, that was my first thought. Your thought wasn't, how am I going to make money on it? You wanted to do it. You wanted to do it, you want to figure it out, and you want to make some stuff. It had nothing to do with making a profit.
I've never been, I don't chase the dollar. I've never been driven by money. You know, money is a necessary evil. We all got to have it, of course.
Sure have.
But at the same time, I wanted to, how can I explain this? At an early age, I noticed that I wasn't driven by money at all. Like, money was something that you had to have, but at the same time, when I got money, I noticed I would just spend it.
You didn't have to have more than you needed. Once you had enough for whatever you was trying to do, that was enough.
I was satisfied.
You wasn't trying to stack it up no more.
No. There again, we all like money. It's something that we got to have, and I'd like to have more.
Sure.
But I decided I wasn't going to sell myself for the dollar. I just wasn't going to do that. I was going to be true to myself, and if I could make some money along the way, then that was cool. But I don't like overtime, you know, anything extra like that. I'm not really willing to go that extra mile for just to have money, extra money. Right. Now, there again, you got to have what you got to have to pay your bills, and we've always kind of managed that. But with me, I'm the type of guy, like, if you give me this amount of money, I'm going to spend down to this, because I know that's my safe zone, right? I'm good there. And if I've got this much money, I'm still going to spend down to right here. And that's just the mindset that I've always had. And I'm not saying that that's right. It's just the way that I operate.
The way you do it.
Yeah.
I remember back when you had gotten promoted from the department we were in. You went to a department that was really right up your alley, a mechanic's job, and you did it for a little bit, and then one day you called and said, "Hey, I'm gone." I said, "Gone? What do you mean?" "You left to go install windshields." I said, "What do you mean? What? I mean, did you buy into this company?" No. I said, "What do you just got promoted. You just got a great deal going. And you left."
I realized when I got into the maintenance department that was end of the road. And I was very young at the time. I think I was 20, 25, 24, 25.
It couldn't have been more than 24.
Yeah, something along those lines. Probably about 24 years old or so when I got into the maintenance department. And, that was a job that everybody wanted. That was where you went. Well, at such an early age, I realized that I had reached the pinnacle, essentially. And my mind just wasn't okay with that. I don't know what it was. It was coming into work every day with steel toe boots and bringing an igloo cooler in with my lunch. I'm like, I'm too young to be at this point. Right. I need to experience some other things in life, and then at some point, maybe I can get back to something like this. But it was just it was overwhelming for me at the time. So I ended up going to install auto glass for about a year and a half, I think it was. And then that business got shut down, so picked the phone up and made a call, and I was back in action.
Well,
it was a good thing for me. It was. I look back now, and I lost a lot of time doing that for sure. But at the same time, it was something that was necessary for me because I knew I had to try it.
Would have been nice if you'd gotten all your seniority back from that.
It would have been.
But yeah, it was a good experience anyway.
It was. Getting out and doing something different was nice because I felt like I was challenging myself, to where I'd been out there for, I don't know what, like 5 years or so, something like that, I think at the time. Yeah. And I was already getting kind of stale. So I got out, I challenged myself, I did something different. And then after that was done, I realized like it was such a weird feeling because no, I'm not driven by money necessarily. But I also realized, oh shit, I'm in a bad spot.
I need a little more than what I'm getting.
Yeah, like this is not good. So, you go knocking back on the door again and they let me back in. I didn't burn any bridges, so
that's right.
That was a good thing. Growing up as a kid, my dad worked at the paper mill and he just retired last year. And that was something that I always said that I wanted to do was, provide for my family with a stable, steady income.
Right.
And I didn't want to job hop. As much as I wanted to go work on cars or do whatever, I realized the importance of sticking it out somewhere and having a career, insurance, and things like that. So I guess while we got Jimmy here, I'll tell you a little story. I've had Fox bodies for forever. As long as you've known me and we worked together, I've had Fox bodies. And I had it was like I don't know, 89 or 90 Mustang LX. Was it the one that me and Chad went down to Florida?
It was exactly the one you and Chad went down there to pick up.
Okay, so, oh boy, that's a story right there. This car was carbureted. It wasn't much to it. I think it had like a set of stock kind of ported heads. It was kind of a little hot rod, I think it had a B-cam in it.
But what it did have
was some sticky tires.
And we know it had sticky tires.
Yeah, for sure it had sticky tires.
Because when we leave work, we work out in the country and you go down the road and stop sign you come to, you got all the little small gravel there at the stop sign. And the Kia's in front of me. And I had just bought a car.
A Lexus, wasn't it?
I had just bought a Lexus and I was real happy about it. Thing drove good. And here Nikia's in front of me at this stop sign, and he decides to burn the tires and throws all this little gravel up on the front of my new car. And that was before I had warmed up to you.
Yeah.
And I was hot. So we got up to the next stop sign, and I was flashing my lights at you, and I believe you did not know that you had done that.
No.
So I'm hot, and I'm saying, man, what have you done? Why was you doing that? I was just sure you were doing it trying to be cute, and you convinced me that you were not. And there was no damage done, but man, I was hot.
It's funny, when you're younger like that, and you don't think about shit like that. And
right.
thinking, oh, you know, Jimmy's behind me. I'll show him what this thing will do. And did me a little burnout, and I had some nittos on it, and it just, I mean, pelted his car with rocks and
It
stuff.
sure did.
Yeah, I felt horrible about that, man.
But yes, so now you and Chad had gone down to Florida. How did that come about to get that? You found it down there somewhere. Was Tallahassee?
No, it was Spring Hill, Florida.
Oh goodness.
So way down Central Florida.
Okay.
It's a 7-hour drive. I found this car on what was it? Auto Trader back in the day. Found it on Auto Trader. Went down there. Me and Chad got together. We were gonna go down and get this thing. Well, actually, no, it was me and another buddy of mine, actually, Dustin. So I'm like, hey man, you know, I'll ride down there with you and I'll drive this car back. So we got down there after a 7-hour trip at like 5 o'clock in the morning. I mean, we had left at like 10 that night, you know, got down there that morning. So we get down there, we're sleeping in the car essentially. This dude comes, I could see the car in the driveway, and it was still kind of